Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a white wine from the Douro Valley in Portugal. So this is Alves de Sousa's Branco da Gaivosa Grande Reserva 2021. The Alves de Sousa family have a very long history of making wines in the Douro Valley, principally making ports. They trace their family history back 5 generations. However, in 1987, Domingos Alves de Sousa took over his family business. Domingos was forward-thinking and decided that he wanted to take the family in a different direction. Previously, they'd made ports that they'd sold to the port houses that had been included in other people's blends, or they'd sold fruit that other people turned into wines. So Domingos' approach was that they would make their own wine, but not necessarily ports. He chose to follow the route of making table wines. I think perhaps because Quinta de Gaivosa is quite well suited to that. They have 6 quintas in all, but Gaivosa is slightly off the beaten track. It's to the north of the Douro Valley. It's up a side valley, the Baixa Corgo, and here the altitude is slightly higher. You're closer to the mountains, it's a little cooler, and certainly their highest vineyards are very well suited to making beautifully balanced table wines and retaining good acidity, which is part of the essence of the Douro Valley, the fact that you've got wonderful sunshine to ripen grapes, but yet retain their freshness and their acidity. In 1991, the family released their first table wines under their own name, and since then they've been hugely successful. I believe Domingos has won the Winemaker of the Year title from Portugal's wine magazine at least twice, I think possibly 3 times even. And the family's approach has been very much to stick to a lot of what they knew from making port. They have some fantastic resources of old vines. They use only indigenous Portuguese varieties. And some of their wines, they make some fantastic single vineyard wines, the Lodello and the Abandonado, and these have really gained some quite significant critical acclaim. However, as producers, they actually specialised in making white port, so the resources for white here are exceptionally good. This particular wine, I've seen notes that suggest that the grape varieties include things like Malvasia, Gouviot, Arinto, all very normal Portuguese grape varieties found in the Douro. However, it's possible that they may change the blend from year to year, because the label for this actually specifies 2 varieties. It says it's 70% Vochinho and 30% Cordega de Lourinhã. Now, neither of these are particularly common grape varieties. In fact, the Cordega de Lourinhã is notorious for being quite difficult to grow. It has quite small bunches. It ripens early, it's susceptible to fungal diseases. But the 2 varieties are often included in blends together, and you'll find often old vineyards are interplanted even along a row with these varieties, so not even planted as different plots. They're within a row, they will be planted together. So as far as the winemaking for this particular wine is concerned, everything is hand-picked, so that will always be the case on these steep old hillside sites. The vines that this is produced from have an average age a little over 20 years, so there's good maturity, even though they may not be the oldest vines on the property. Pressing is done very gently using a pneumatic press, and the juice is run off into tank, and there the individual vineyard plots are kept separate. The wine was decanted into barrel for fermentation, and fermentation lasted for about 10 days. The barrels were entirely made from new oak, and the wine stayed in the barrel aging with its lees for a further 12 months after the end of fermentation. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? My initial view is that this seems to be a fairly pale yellow colour. Wine doesn't appear particularly viscous. Its alcohol level is 11.5% according to its label. It's not particularly clinging to the sides of the glass there, so that is all in line with that. It's a dry wine, there shouldn't be any sugar in there. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas have a really fine oak nature. It's almost like standing in a barrel hall with a load of the faces of new oak barrels facing you. There are vanilla notes, there are touches of cedar, plentiful vanilla actually. So yes, the oak really quite dominating that. There's perhaps a tiny touch of creaminess coming through, maybe just a sort of a delicate white peach note, but the aromas are rather dominated by the oak at present. At the same time, the oak is quite delicate. It's not in your face, full and fat. So I'll be interested to see what it tastes like. Let's see. On the palate, the wine has an interesting balance between seeming to be relatively light-bodied, having pretty good freshness. The acidity is lively, but not tart. And yet at the same time, there's an incredible concentration. The concentration is delicate peachiness, a delicate white peach, but interacting beautifully with real sort of vanilla notes, touches of cedar, all harmoniously marrying on the mid palate. The alcohol doesn't really show itself. There's no obvious alcohol warmth there. The acidity stays in balance, and there's a mineral note to the finish. I suppose there are touches of lemony citrus acidity, but generally it's quite mineral, clean and fresh, and the flavours are lasting really quite well. The wine is very sophisticated. Its style is almost sort of contrasting with the intensity of the flavours, but the lightness of the wine's body. I suspect the wine would probably age for another 4 or 5 years quite happily. There's no lack of concentration or balance. And the toasty notes of the oak will probably only gain in complexity as the fruit starts to fill out behind it. I think that's a really interesting wine. It's of high quality, and just the clean finish with that mineral persistence is really very good. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found the tasting of interest. If you have, do press the like button below. Do consider sharing the video with your friends if you think they'd be interested. Do leave your comments. We'd love to know what you think about this wine, other Portuguese wines, or any other related matters. Do also please consider signing up and following us on YouTube. It would be great to gain your support. But most importantly, I do hope you'll take the time to join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thank you very much. Bye for now.